And welcome back to another episode of Stagged Odds episode. I believe this is number 4. We were talking about some achievements on the previous episode with Ravenous, and today we're going back in the past with our buddy Meurig here. Welcome. How are you doing?
Well, hello. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Like I said, we're going to retro again, my favorite category of all of them. Not completely biased, but yeah, tell me about yourself.
Well, I do like my old games. A lot of the reasons why I do the retro stuff is specifically nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, my main game being Super Metroid it reminds me of my grandmother. And but there, you know, I mainly play all the games other than like one or two I play because it has a background in my childhood.
Right. So nostalgia plays a big role in your gaming.
Absolutely.
I've been watching your content for quite some time, and is this a new thing that you started speedrunning? Like, have you been doing this for how long exactly?
This is, well, I mean, my SRC says my oldest is a year, so I've been off and on for like I've been streaming for 3 years. I've been speedrunning for 2.5.
Okay, so quite a lot of experience already when it comes to whole dreaming career. Nice. As I was about to say and ask when I dropped out or whatever that technical difficulty was there, I was checking your YouTube channel and there was a lot of different playthroughs, not only speedruns, but you've been playing casual games as well, mostly retro focused. How did you start this whole thing? What was your first game?
My very first game, funny enough, was, well, for speedrunning was Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah. So Bucky, and what about casually?
Casually on stream? Oh man. Probably my first casual one that I didn't play when I was a kid was actually Full Quiet on NES.
Yeah, we are definitely going back to that topic eventually because I want to ask you all about homebrews. I was checking. Well, I've been checking your Twitch for over a year now, at least. Well, probably even more than that. But yeah, I saw you actually speedrunning a couple of homebrews, and Full Quiet being one of them. Is that actually something you want to continue exploring when it comes to retro games, especially NES homebrews, because there's so many good games out there?
Eventually, yes. Right now, I'm having issues with my hands. Long story short, I was a medieval reenactor for like 16 plus years, and it beat my hands up pretty good.
All right.
Because it's pretty much full contact. So, you know, like little micro fractures here and there. So,
yeah.
And then with my occupation, I'm an electrician, so I use my hands all the time.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to picking games nowadays, I have to be careful. So I got to watch mash heavy games, and Full Quiet is definitely can be mash heavy.
Yeah, as far as I remember, that there was a couple of sections where you did need to mash.
Yeah.
How do you handle that in speedrunning?
Oh, what, the hand pains?
Yeah.
Basically, it's there's a regiment that I do after like if I do just a normal session, like Super Metroid doesn't require mashing. It's very technical. So I'm not super concerned about like a regiment after a session of that. But like games like Full Quiet, Bucky, or I used to run Journey to Silius. My hands would be so sore afterwards. So
yeah, for a reason.
Yeah, just basically massage them. If they're real bad, I would actually do like an Epsom salt bath for them.
Mm-hmm.
I rub some special lotion. It's CBD lotion on my hands, and then right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And then pray to God that my hands are not as sore in the morning.
Yeah, that's it's a topic in a lot of speedrun communities when it comes to just mashing or using turbo, for example. And
yeah,
quite frankly, it should be, if not mandatory, at least there should be a different category for turbo users, because the accessibility has to be a thing, or should be a thing in retro games. So I'm glad you found some kind of a solution for that, because mashing can be and always will be pretty wearing for your fingers, and it's not exactly a fun thing to do if you have even more pains to add to that. So
Yeah. The other thing too is, my arthritis is more than just my hands. It's actually in my wrist and in my elbows.
yeah, even more, right?
And I feel it more because when I mash, I don't mash with my finger. I mash with my whole arm. I
Yeah,
start from the shoulder, and I
yeah,
can feel that in like the outside of my elbow
right.
when it's real crazy. So
Yeah, it's understandable. I do the same when it comes to. I have this really weird grip where I'm just pinching my index finger and thumb together, and then it kind of vibrates my entire arm. So I
yeah,
can definitely relate to that. So
yeah.
every single person has a different kind of a mashing technique, but yeah, I can definitely see where that comes from. So speaking of retro games, I think I started to watch you around the Bucky grind when you did, but you also did one of my favorite NES games, Blaster Master.
Yeah.
How is that going these days? Are you still eager to go back to Blaster Master at some point? Because as far as I know, there is a mash section there as well. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
There is unfortunately a couple of mash sections in Blaster Master, but how do you feel about that game? I have to ask this question.
Oh, of course you do. I get it. I will say I think Blaster Master is probably in my top 3 favorite NES speedruns, and I always get that itch to go back. And I did recently for a little bit, but that was during a time at work where we had this special project going on, and it was really hard on my arms,
Yeah,
and I could tell when I was mashing the final boss, like I didn't have the endurance to last that whole, because it's actually quite a long section of mashing.
it is. Yeah.
So it was one of those I had to step away till things heal up. But
Yeah,
I'm always itching for that game.
yeah. That's the unfortunate part of the whole run because the not the second to last boss. We can obviously cheese that with the pause
Yeah.
bomb trick, but yeah, the last boss is just something you just have to continue mash and until the boss is dead or you're dead, depending of the strategies. But
Right.
there was one single trick you could pull off, which is going outside the boss room with a little glitch before the fight starts, and then it kind of just freezes up the boss in the destructible blocks. I assume
Mhm.
the preview screen, and you can just mash however fast you want. Doesn't matter. You can just basically tap the button, and he's dead.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as the rest of the run goes, it's pretty decent. Other than the third one, I like to call it the Mega Man ripoff. The little
The blocks, yeah,
Yeah, like that one's not too bad because if I can feel my arm getting tired, when I'm running from block to block, I can give it, the couple frames of break that I need to finish the fight.
yeah.
Um,
It's it's really wearing for your fingers.
yeah, but that last boss, man, if you start fading and you're up in the top corner, you can tell you're fading when you take damage. It's like, oh, gotta mash faster.
Yeah, the game literally tells you if you're not mashing fast enough because you're in the hitbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, that's ironically that's actually the game where I learned to mash in some level at least. So
Right.
the game taught me how to do it on some level. Not the jump kind of mashing, which is a whole nother story. That's something people need to learn eventually themselves. But Photophage, I think that was the name of the
Yeah.
third level boss. Just to mention it so David doesn't get hurt because I didn't remember it. All right. So that aside, obviously Blaster Master was one of your game, Bucky is one of the game, but I saw so many different games on your channel here. Like, I- ho- can you remember how many games have you speedrun? Because I've seen Batman. Excuse me, not the original NES Batman. I think this is the other Batman, the Return of the Joker.
Yeah, that was a recent find.
Great soundtrack, by the way. I never played the game. I only see a couple of people playing it, but that looks like a fun game. There's a Sparkster is one, Link to the Past, so you actually have some any SNES run as well.
Yep.
Then I saw Goldeneye. Was that a speed run?
No, Goldeneye was more of a challenge run for me. I never finished it. Was that Double O Agent, or the hardest setting before custom settings?
Yeah.
I never fully played through it as a kid, so I just did like 2 or 3 weeks of like a challenge run through it, and that was Ooh, that was fun.
Since you just mentioned about nostalgia, I can absolutely see that you would want to go back to some games you weren't able to beat back in the day, because I do the same all the time as well. Especially Castlevania games, I was never able to beat not a single one of them. Believe it or not, I sucked at Castlevania, so I made it my personal challenge to finish at least some of them. So far, I have done 2, the 1 and 2. I'm missing the third and well, I don't even remember if I ever saw the third one here. Probably didn't. Also, let me fix that. You also did run Batman, the NES first one.
Yes.
Just checking all these videos you have here. So, speaking of nostalgia and these challenge runs you have done, what do you think will be in the future? What are we going to see? Is there any specific game you want to go back and beat?
Well, I'm currently back on my Super Metroid binge, and I just started learning what they call New Route, which is PRKD. And for those that don't know, that's the boss order. So it'd be Phantoon, Ridley, Kraid, and Dragon in that order.
Yeah.
The difficulty level from what I was running to that is like through the roof.
So it's actually more difficult route?
It's significantly more difficult.
Okay.
There's certain tricks that you have to pull off in this route versus the newer or the more friendly route, which is KPDR, because you don't have space jump, you don't have plasma beam, so you can't kill pirates in lower Norfair, so you actually have to just dodge them or killing with shine sparking. But for the future, probably going to be working on PRKD Super Metroid for a while, and probably want to revisit a couple other of my older runs that aren't mash heavy. Like Demon's Crest is probably one of my favorite Super Nintendo games outside of Super Metroid, and want to do like Hundo, like 100% run of that and get some good times in that.
Yeah. I was just giving myself a bit of a chuckle here when we were just talking about mash heavy games, but you actually have quite a lot of them here, like Ninja Gaiden. It's pretty ironic, but hopefully that doesn't completely destroy your arms when you have done this. At least now you know.
Yeah, I'm being very selective of the games that I run. I'm like, the first one's nostalgia. Nostalgia's the biggest part, and Super Metroid's got like a really special part in my heart. Like I said, it reminds me of my grandmother, and there's certain points of that game where I swear maybe I'm going crazy. That's a possibility. I'm almost 40, so I'm kind of half nuts. But I swear I can smell my grandmother's kitchen
while playing the game.
Yeah, in certain parts, because there was a lot of times where she would make suggestions. I'm like, hey, maybe you should try this way, or you should try this way. It's so strong. There's such a strong memory of her when I play that, and that's why I keep going back. Yeah,
that's actually pretty sweet. Cool.
But then I'm also looking for. I don't mind technical, but I've got to avoid the mashy stuff, and then. Just as strong as for the nostalgia part, I gotta like the music. If the music's bad, I ain't gonna run it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I can absolutely relate to that. So Super Metroid, there's so many retro friends of mine that actually play Super Metroid. I actually never had SNES myself. Only a couple of friends did have it, so I don't have the nostalgia you share, even though I think we're pretty close to each other's ages here. Like I'm going to be 39 today, so also approaching 40.
Yeah.
But that aside, Super Metroid is an awesome game, but since I don't have a lot of experience of it, I'm not going to bother with a lot of questions about that game, at least not today, maybe some other day. But I also saw you running Shadowgate. Now, there's a game I was never able to finish back in the day, but then again, I have an excuse for that, and which you don't, by the way. Obviously, probably a game where you kind of needed to know at least some English. And I just pressed some buttons here and there because I didn't know what the hell anything meant, so I wasn't able to finish it. My other brother, my second brother, was able to finish the game. However, probably used some Nintendo Power Cheese. Who cares? He finished it. But yeah, that's one of the games I wasn't able to finish. But recently, I noticed that there was also some kind of a re-release of well, not a re-release, the Beyond Shadowgate, right? That's the name.
Yeah.
So that's something I would personally want to. If I don't want to go for the original one, the Beyond Shadowgate is something I would definitely want to go and check out, and maybe do some justice for my younger self by finishing it. But tell me about Shadowgate. How much do you actually like the game? Is it a good speed run? What makes it an interesting speed run? What's the whole deal of Shadowgate here?
So, once again, it's a whole nostalgic tie. It reminds me of my grandmother's again. But what was really gripping to me was when I was young playing it, I wanted to know more about the fantasy world. And there is, with what little you find out from the original and the music in that game, there is something about the music in that game that just inspires dread almost in certain points.
It's haunting. It's pretty haunting.
It is so good.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I think it's my first menu-based speed run. I looked it up and I'm like, this kind of looks goofy, but I tried it like 3 days later and I'm like, it's kind of addictive.
Yeah. And not usually the kind of game a lot of people picks as the speed run, because obviously it's a point and click game.
Yeah.
You and me both probably have a lot of people who does run point and click games. So how do you feel about that as a genre, like a speedrun genre? Is it something you would pick up again?
Probably. Now, at least with Beyond Shadowgate, I got a chance to chit chat with a couple devs that came in when I was actually speedrunning it, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, and they were chilling out in our speedrun Discord a little bit too, and they actually implemented like a speedrun setting for Beyond Shadowgate, because a lot of us were saying about you have to click so much, and you're literally just mashing the mouse button, but they added a setting where if you click and hold it, it actually advances the text ahead instead of having to mash through it. So
nice.
So that made it a little bit more accessible for me to return back to Beyond Shadowgate. And the music in Beyond Shadowgate it's probably in my favorites. As a matter of fact, I use 2 of the songs from that as an alarm clock for the morning.
Damn, that's a high praise.
It's really good.
Would you think it's actually better than the original?
Game or music?
Let's ask both. What about the music first?
Yeah, probably. It has the chiptune sounds to it. It's very it has the similar bass to it like you would find in like the NES Metroid Brinstar music. Like it has that real deep rumbly bass to it.
Yeah.
And I will say I think the music's better in Beyond Shadowgate than the original Shadowgate.
And game-wise, is it a better game?
Oh yeah. There's so much to it. It's so much longer. It doesn't have the nostalgic ties like the original does, but there's certain points in that one, and I'm not gonna spoil it in case you want to play it.
I will absolutely play it, yeah.
Because towards the end, there's certain things that happen that you just go, oh, and you actually get this like little, well, for those that have the nostalgic ties to the original, you literally get like chills down your spine. Like, I remember this,
So is it like a complete remake of the original? So you said it was longer.
It is significantly longer. It's I believe from my understanding, a lot of the Beyond Shadowgate that they made is what the developers intended, plus what was added in the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Versus was that the TurboGrafx CD version of Beyond Shadowgate was kind of just like you have an idea and then they went way off the rails,
Yeah.
So this, from my understanding, this was more along the lines of what the original dev of it wanted.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's a game I absolutely want to play at some point. It's for nostalgia as well, like you said. Not only because it's a game that perked my interest, but I absolutely need to play it because of nostalgia. The soundtrack in the original was something that drew me in, and it was just so haunting. I think I was scared of it because of it. There was
Yeah, there's one song in there it's the torch theme when your torch is about to go out. Man, that drives me nuts.
Yeah, like something is coming at you, or you're running away from something. That's what it makes me feel. At least it's really just a panic mode when that happens.
Instant heart rate spike every time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that is some good memories. But also the reason why I guess I didn't play it through. You know what? With the power, Nintendo power, I probably would have been able to understand everything and push it through. But I guess the fear factor was there, which also pushed me away from the game a bit. But these days, not a problem.
I was going to add, and I said this last year, and I'll say it again this year. It was probably my favorite indie release last year. It was Beyond Shadowgate.
That's a huge praise, considering how many indie games there were. But it looks fun, really fun.
It's that setting. I've always been into dark fantasy. I played a lot of D&D as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of all fits in the realm. There was one time when I wanted to make a D&D campaign based solely off of that setting. Didn't get anywhere. But
Shadowgate?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Now you need to do it.
I know. I should. I should.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad we have similar interest because nostalgia is a powerful drug. It always will be.
Yes.
So that aside, let's go to probably the main subject of this entire podcast. And I'm super excited to talk about this because of my lack of knowledge and experience. And that's homebrews. And you have plenty of them right here on your YouTube channel. And we're going to start with the one you already mentioned. You were really excited about this game when it came out. I believe you were talking with Skunky48, who also ran this game, right? Am I completely mistaken?
He didn't run it fully. He was in the very beginnings of like exploring tech and helping with the routing.
Yeah. Let the audience know, what is Full Quiet? This is not sponsored, but go ahead.
Full Quiet, not sponsored.
Yep.
I believe it's a retro entertainment physical released NES game. I actually have the cartridge behind me. It's basically think of it as like your worst nightmare when it comes to camping.
Right.
It has very strong camping vibes, but it's basically a platformer. You're going around this like heavily forested island, and you're trying to turn on these like beacons or radio stations. I can't quite remember. It's been a bit since I actually played it. Still one of my favorite NES games of all time. But you're trying to turn these stations on to reach what's considered full quiet, which basically trying to remove, I guess, interference off of the radios.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think that such a game can be played on NES, because as far as I understand, it's not exactly a fast game to play. Like it takes quite a while to understand everything and where to go and whatnot. So it's
yeah, they don't really give you much information even in the manual. There's stuff in the manual that will help you on your way, but there is no hand holding, and that's why I love it, you know.
Just like your old times. I don't think we really had a lot of hand holding back in the day. It was just, like you said, the manual. If there was something interesting, something important maybe to read, we picked that up. That's it. You had to figure out the rest. That was the main NES experience. Maybe even SNES experience. But yeah, Full Quiet is just, it looks phenomenal. It looks and plays incredibly well as well. I don't really see a whole lot of lag in the game. So how do you feel optimization wise?
There's a lot to optimize in that yet. From my understanding, I've actually had a dev chilling in chat when I was running that too. From my understanding, they have some sort of code put into place to advance frames to help prevent lag. So that's why it always looks buttery smooth. There is I feel that there is so much to be explored in that run yet.
it looks really really fun. And you said you had a physical copy of the game.
I do. Yep, I got it in my hands right here. It's a bright green with a black and whitish label on it.
Oh, so the actual card is not gray.
Yes, I think there was a special edition that you could get that was silver.
Oh, cool.
With like a different label on it, but yeah. It is a prized possession of mine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The physical copies are not exactly a common thing these days. It's, you know, we can go all the back to modern gaming. People are buying digital games these days, so physical things are they're still there, but well, let's talk about Switch. And you open up the game cartridge, and what do you have? You have the game code inside the card. That's all you have. You don't even have the full game there.
Don't even get me started on the Switch 2 stuff.
Yeah, we could have a whole lot of podcasts of that. But yeah, I love physical stuff myself as well. So that's a cool thing to see that people are doing that stuff. I was just about to say a couple of my speedrun friends have battle kit cards that are really prized possession in their collection. So I don't have any homebrews myself, but yeah, battle kit was one of them. I think Dave has one. Probably doesn't have one, but he wanted one at least.
I do want a copy of Battle Kid too. I actually was thinking about giving Battle Kid a chance for running, but not as much as Dave did. Dave's nuts.
Yeah, let's not go to the hardest difficulty. That is just a bit crazy.
Yeah, like this really long run and not die once. No thanks.
Yeah, in a game where dying is practically the main thing. Like, yeah, you will die all the time. So that is an awesome challenge he was able to pull off. But Battlegate 1 and 2 are awesome homebrews if you have never tested them out.
I got halfway through the first one. I really liked it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, mashing wise. I think it's fine. You don't really have to mash there as long as you're just... It's kind of a Dark Soul-ish because you have to learn the patterns of the bosses. But yeah, it's awesome. Like a little Dark Souls is for NES.
Yeah, as far as I could tell, it didn't seem like it was going to be an issue with, the mashing bit. Like a couple button presses here and there is not a big issue. It's like when you're mashing like Gator in Blue Planet on Bucky, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, that's painful. I grinded the game for a couple of months, and yeah, not exactly fun times. I keep joking about the game that it's not mash heavy, but yeah, then there's that little portion of the game and your thumb screams blood.
But there's some interesting things about Full Quiet that I don't know if it's really been done before on an NES game, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's the first game that I have found, or at least for the NES, that if you have the proper adapter for a Super Nintendo controller, you can use a Super Nintendo controller with the added buttons. So
I don't think I remember any other game having that option.
So like, yeah, there's a menu. Like I was messing around with it and found a menu when they were mentioning about it, and I was able to move like reload and swapping weapons to like L and R on my Super Nintendo controller. And there's certain spots where you can see that because of having that Super Nintendo controller is a major advantage.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you're using a standard NES controller, I think you're pressing down on the D-pad to reload and to swap weapons. You actually have to go into the menu and navigate through the menu for swapping weapons, where with the Super Nintendo controller, you can literally put a button as reload and you can swap weapons with L and R.
Okay, that's pretty neat. Well, I was about to ask something else, but what if you put in another controller in your NES? Does that do anything in Full Quiet?
I've only noticed Super Nintendo.
Okay.
That's the only adapter that I have for a SNES controller going to regular Nintendo.
Yeah, I was only asking this because I recently grinded the Megaman 4 Voyage ROM hack, and it had interesting little feature where you could quick swap your weapons by pressing down and select.
Yeah.
Or just select, going left and right. Or you could just get another controller and use A and B buttons on the second controllers to do it. So I just slapped them together with a duct tape and just used double controllers to play the game. So that's where I remembered that little detail.
Now you have me curious. I'm gonna have to mess with that after the podcast.
Like if it does something, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
It's might be a thing if they have a controller support for SNES as well. That's a cool little Easter egg.
I will tell you, Ahmad, if you have not gotten a chance to play this, 100% play this game. It's so good.
I feel like I would feel really filthy if I would just play the ROM on my Everdrive. I think I would rather just buy the whole physical card instead.
It's not bad. It's not badly priced, honestly.
Yeah, one of the reasons, of course, but just to support these homebrew devs.
Yes.
I mean, as far as I can tell, that's a good game. I haven't really been wanting to watch any full runs of the game because obviously that would have been way too many spoilers in the whole run, but. Yeah, I have to get that somehow in my hands at some point.
I will say the wild thing was before I even picked it up, I was watching Skunky and Evil Elfo and Mike. Yeah, it was Mike doing it too. They were doing runs, and even watching those runs, I had no idea what was going on, but I noticed that the movement was cool. And when I actually got my hands on a copy of it, even watching that run, it didn't spoil anything for me, except the ending. You know, the ending, that of course, but like just casually watching it, you don't know what's going on because they very rarely pull up a map, and the navigation in that game is wildly important.
Yeah. I guess that's a good point. I've seen people pulling on the map, and there's so many different locations where you go and have to go. And obviously, in casual playthrough, you would just constantly watch the map and check where you are.
Yeah.
Not in a speedrun, you're just going to memorize most of it, if not all. What other homebrews have you played? Because I'm pretty sure you have at least played the bubble game.
A little bit. I have it. I putzed around with it. I really wanted to get into that run too because it's short. You know,
it's very short. Yeah, it was in one of the. What was the best of NES?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was in one of them. I messed with the lawnmower game a little bit too, and I was like, this is way too addictive. I need to stop.
Oh my god, yeah, that was actually in a best of 20.
Yeah,
not best of 20. Oh my god, I'm missing the name here completely. Big 20. There we go. That's
Big
the
20,
name.
Yeah. I think it was in the most recent one. Yeah, and then there was like lawnmower extravaganza. Even if you weren't in the Big 20, people were still playing it.
Yeah, it's such a simple idea, simple mechanics, but it that's what NES games are at best, right there. It's a simple idea executed well, and that's a fun game and fun time to be had. Doesn't have to be complicated.
I messed with Super Tilt Bro, which is interesting. The story mode is the only part of it that you can do a speedrun for, and people are way faster than me at that. But imagine like a Super Smash Brothers Melee game on an NES cart that you can actually play online because there's a chipset for it that connects to your Wi-Fi. That blows my mind.
On an NES, that's kind of unusual.
But I have a physical copy of that too. That's the only way you could play it online was with the physical copy. And then I got a copy of Steel Legion, which is kind of a neat run and gun platformer as well.
I just saw a couple of videos of yours of that game as well. It looks like run and gun. Is that like a Metroidvania elements in the game, or is it just literally run and gun?
It's definitely a Metroidvania. I mean, okay. It's a Metroidvania. Of course, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I would feel the same to do as well if that would be the case. Looks fun, very straightforward as far as I can see.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. When you're doing there's a couple sections of that run that are pretty particular with especially with the boss fights. But other than that, it's fairly simple.
There's so many good homebrews out there. any other homebrews you would mention here?
Not off the top of my head, to be honest.
Yeah.
None fully memorable. Other than like standard, your typical puzzle games that you find when you just need to
Right.
detox from the day and you're just looking at a puzzle.
I'm actually kind of surprised that this obviously NES development is way easier these days because people have the understanding how to optimize better for the console and whatnot. But I'm still surprised that there hasn't really been like a really solid Megaman competitor for the whole NES. Like, can you remember anything that is anything close to Mega Man on NES? I mean, there's plenty of awesome side-scrolling games for sure, but like, if you think about Mega Man games, they're always the top 2, top 3 competitors when it comes to NES games. Where's the good homebrews? Mega Man kind of homebrews.
Outside of ROM hacks of Mega Man, I don't know of anything that plays exactly like it,
Yeah, unbelievable that's not exactly a thing. We have stuff like Bucky, of course, which is an awesome game by itself, but it's just it's not Mega Man game.
No, it's not Mega Man.
No. Man, homebrews are awesome, and I need to explore that region of retro gaming myself as well at some point. It's not only NES, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Super Nintendo game as well, which are people producing currently and have been. But that's a whole lot of can of worms that I haven't opened yet, which I would love to.
I haven't messed with any real SNES homebrews myself. I wanted to because Super Nintendo is my favorite console of all time because it is the best console of all time. Just saying.
I'm probably going to agree with you this, and people are going to hate me for it, but like, it's just 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I felt like that 16-bit stuff was for me, and I feel like that's the most beautiful kind of retro graphics or visual style in games, at least for myself. Even though I have all the nostalgia for NES games, but man, I wished I would have grown up with an SNES.
I feel spoiled, to be honest.
Yeah, all these Link to the Past, TMNT4, like this endless library of awesome games in SNES, which I did play back in the day. One of my friends had Super Nintendo, but I was so jealous of not having the console myself.
Right.
And then this one individual had Mega Drive or, the Genesis relevant, and no one liked him because he had 2 Mega Drive.
That kind of happened with me too. Like, except it was the Genesis side. A lot of us had Super Nintendos here, and I had one friend that had a Genesis. And every time I go over to visit, we'd be, playing Sonic and stuff, but I missed out on the whole Sega side of things. And I have a Genesis sitting on the shelf here waiting to get an Everdrive for it because I want to play all the Genesis games,
Yeah. Just on last ESA, there was a bass guy who actually, I bought the console from bass guy. He delivered to another Finnish person who delivered to me. So now I have my 16-bit Genesis there waiting to be played with an Everdrive as well. So I need to check all the games. So far, we have only tested a couple of Sonic games, and I hate both of them. I don't know. There's something about Sonic games that doesn't. The older games, rather. I think the newer ones have been pretty decent, but like if you play a Sonic game like I did, completely blind, and you had some memories of it playing, but not a whole lot. But if you go into a Sonic game completely blind, you don't know where the hell you're going. You go too fast. You're just there's a bunch of leap of fates, and you're just constantly dying and suffering. And I didn't have any fun with them. I didn't play the third one, by the way, but the first 2.
And then although let me add a little correction. I did have a the handheld, the Game Gear. I had a Game Gear.
Oh, yeah.
I had a couple games for it. I mean, I played like Mortal Kombat, Golden Axe. I remember Golden Axe. I remember how awful that game was.
Right.
And then the one Jurassic Park game I had for it, there was nostalgia for me, man. When I was riding the school bus going home, I'd be playing my Game Gear, and by the time I get home, my battery's almost dead because the batteries don't last long in a Game Gear.
Yeah. The problem with those little things back in the day for sure. Jurassic Park. Why did you have to mention that? Now I have some NES trauma. Just not even able to finish like I guess it was the second stage. I can't remember. It was just so long ago, but that's another game I never finished at all.
Right.
On Big 20, it was added to the list like a year ago, I believe, and that was not even the full game. I think it went all the way to the last or second to last mission or stage. So still haven't played that game all the way, which I have to correct at some point. That
is something I want to get involved in sometime, hopefully soon, is actually getting into a Big 20.
You should. It's as a speedrunner, it's a good opportunity to learn some new games. The last one had plenty of any percent goals,
right,
which was the reason I didn't want to join the whole thing, because that's a lot of learning, and it's like you're a family guy yourself. You probably don't have a lot of time on your hand.
No, I don't.
And you would have to learn like 10 any percent titles. Given some of them are pretty fast, but then there's a game or two which is like over 20 minutes long. That's so much dedication just to learn all of these runs, and it just comes to lacking if you have the time or not.
Yeah, pretty much like, and I tell my community this, like the only time I really get to game is when I'm streaming, or like the half an hour before I go to sleep for, during the week, because I'm running around chasing my little kid around the house,
Yeah. Daddy issues. Man, it's Big 20 is still fun though. Definitely recommend, like what I just said, obviously. You don't have to play on the top level to participate. Anyone can participate and have fun with it, but it's a good opportunity and good excuse to learn games you probably never even thought about learning from NES. And that was also one of the reasons why I learned a couple of them, like the Indiana Jones Chronicles was something I never even heard of before Big 20. And then me and Prissy wanted to start grinding the game, and we just completely destroyed the leaderboard. So.
That Indiana Jones game, I watched you do quite a bit of grinding on that, and it made me really want to play that.
That was one of the hidden gems in that Big 20. Like I said, I never heard of it before, but I think it was the fan favorite. Everyone liked it.
Yeah, there was it was you, I think it was Grayskull and Chill Runs I was watching do the grind on that, and that game looked like a lot of fun.
It was. It wasn't even as janky as it might actually look like. Only when you come down from a jump, you do this little kneeling animation. But then again, you have played Batman before, so you're all familiar with that already. I don't have to explain that how it works. Speaking of Batman, I think in one of your streams you said that you want to improve that time even more what you already have. And man, Batman is a hard run. Once again, in one Big 20, I played it, and the game kicks my ass. How did you deal with that grind?
Lots of caffeine.
Oh, well, that's one good explanation for it.
Well, once again, there was nostalgia tied to that one. That one I didn't really play at my grandmother's. I played that more at my house when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and a lot of the reason why I stuck with that was actually a good friend of mine from Twitch, Tetsuo, and I were running it side by side.
Oh, nice.
And
so some speedrun buddies.
Yeah. It was a friendly, like, gentleman's competition, and it was funny because after the first week, he would bop me, and then I would bop him, and it was back and forth.
Yeah. And
I actually had to send my NES off to get recapped because it was acting real funky, and I actually got the RGB mod in it at the same time, and then he took off. So I'm sitting at a 1225, and he got up to an 1124.
Oh, pulled quite a difference there.
Yeah, but when I sent it off, him and I were within like a second or two of each other. So
yeah. Well,
And
it's another game where just grind and eventually you will get better. Short
and
run.
and then we had Showing come in like a week or two into it, and then he joined in on it. So there was a couple. Tetsuo and I started, and then there was a couple people that were like, you know what, we're going to learn this game too. And it wasn't even talking to anybody about it. It was just like, yo, there's people running this. Let's go run this now.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the friendly competition to encourage your own motivation here when it comes to speedrunning.
And then you would have, Junkyard Dave show up every once in a while. It's just like when Bucky's being played, I'm summoned out of the depths. But when Batman's played, he shows up and he's poking you in the background, going, "You are better than that. Go."
Yeah, that's true. It's a specific games summon specific people. And Batman is definitely the Dave kind of a game.
Yeah,
he's always there supporting you no matter what your skill level is, and that's like it should be.
Yeah, he's hiding in the shadows like Batman does.
Yeah. Like a proper Canadian. Freaking Dave.
Love you, Dave.
That's his baby, all right. Oh, same. Yeah, Dave is a good guy. I just never want to get into the whole game myself because of the sheer difficulty, and the Big 20 just proved my theory right that it's not a game for me. But man, I do love watching people run Batman and improve in that game. Short games on NES are fun to watch. Like Gremlins 2 was one of them I picked up out of nowhere. I learned that game as a 20-hour challenge.
Oh,
that
boy.
was a thing. And I still had the old splits, but I never had a run recorded of it. So I started the grind again, and then we went all the way to world record, which wasn't my intention at all. And then that brought Andy back to the game, and he stole the record back. And I was like, you know what? You can keep it. That's too much RNG for me. So not a game I would want to at least grind for a long time, because RNG can be quite the bitch.
I have quite the story with Gremlins 2.
Really?
I never played it until recently. I was actually working on I was going to do my own little marathon that was Sunsoft specific games, because those are some serious bangers when it comes to music. But little did I know that would be such a mash heavy marathon. And that was
welcome to Sunsoft.
Oh man, and that was right when I started the project at work that was really taking a toll on my hands, and I actually told my community that I'm gonna have to step back. But from that marathon, at least until things heal, Gremlins 2 was on that list. I played through it once, and I'm like, once I learn this, I'm never playing this again.
Wonder why? Give me an excuse why.
Oh man, the RNG is so bad.
Well, I guess that's all we need to hear about that game. But yeah, Gremlins 2 it's so bad when it comes to RNG. Like if you want to and enjoy hitting your head against the wall, there's your game.
Oh my word. I don't get me wrong. I think the game is above okay for me,
Oh yeah.
But and the music, there other than the main theme of it, like everybody knows the Gremlins theme, but
yeah,
like the other songs in it are rather catchy, and that's what drew me to it.
Yeah, the soundtrack and the sprite work, the cutscenes, the actual gameplay. Overall, the game is awesome on an NES standard, but man, the speed on RNG is just it's something that destroys your just mental health completely if you keep grinding it. And there's a couple of tricks, of course, in the game as well during the run, which can be pretty annoying, but it's mainly the RNG. And it's not even like you can go all the way to the last boss perfectly without literally having the best luck in the game, and then the final boss decides to just rush towards you like 5 different times and ruin your entire run.
Yeah.
Thank you, RNG. I'm glad we had this conversation. So yeah, it's a fun game, but I would not recommend it for a long grind unless you really enjoy random stuff happening to you all the time.
Yeah, no thanks. I get enough of that from Super Metroid. Just a couple little things here and there that can literally finish a run and you have to start over.
Tell me about that Super Metroid RNG. I know some bosses have some, like Phantoon.
Yeah, so the RNG for bosses is mainly basically their patterns. You know, like
Yes.
what's going to determine their patterns.
Yeah.
As far as where I'm at in the run, boss patterns won't kill my run because I'm like my current PB is a 49:31, but I swapped over to the new route, which my PB is like 54 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's wild that like say Fantoon, RNG can dictate 15 to 25, 30-second loss depending on how good you are with compensating for their patterns.
Right.
Then Ridley's RNG, I've been running that game on and off for almost 2 years and I'm still learning things about Ridley. It's his programming is so wild. It's like if you're in a specific section in the room, could trigger him to do one thing or the other, you know, and you're trying to force him to do one thing, but you're like maybe a pixel off, so instead he does this other thing. Ridley is my not best friend when it comes to that run.
Yeah, so much knowledge actually goes for the entire run, like the boss fights, and the movement is ridiculously nice to watch if you just know how to handle it. And obviously, it's just one of those really classic retro games, which is still popular and continues being popular among casual and speedrunners. It's awesome.
That is one of those couple games that I see that could be your forever speedrun. If you pick one up and you pick up Super Metroid, you could run that till you're no longer speedrunning, you know?
Yeah.
I don't foresee myself ever doing that with something like Bucky.
No, not really. Unless you value your unless you don't value, excuse me, your finger health. It ruins everything. But I'm just gonna be the one guy that says that I played Super Metro for the first time ever a couple of years ago, since I didn't have the nostalgia for it. But I do have the SNES hardware and Everdrive, so I was like, hey, what is this hype about Super Metroid? And I had to test the game, and it was a good game, but unfortunately there was a couple of sections which completely annoyed me, and I got trapped in one of the pits where there was these little friendly creatures trying to teach me how to do the the wall jumps, and I got stuck there, not trying to I was trying to realize what the hell they were doing, and maybe I can do a wall jump, and I obviously that was one of my first ideas, but I never got the hang of it until someone told me how to do it on chat. So obviously it's not a perfect game. Let's just go right there in this minute. Nostalgia is a very powerful drug, like I said before, but doesn't take away from the game how good it still is. And every game has its flaws. Like if you ask any of these, let's say I'm heavily part of Megaman speedruns myself, or the Megaman communities. If you ask those guys that like why Megaman 2 is the best game, for example, they always go like, the best soundtrack, the best level design, and then this one person lifts their hands up and goes like, what about that Wily 4, the one boss that is purple and you have to destroy the things on the walls. Oh yeah, well, besides that, happens to be one of the worst boss designs ever, but no one cares. So obviously games have designs or flaws.
I have recently played through quite a bit of Mega Man's. That's something I missed out when I was a kid. Was the Mega Man series. Other than I played the first one as a kid. Yeah. And so I did 1 through 6. I think it was 7 and 8, and I putzed around with Mega Man and Bass. And I want to get back to it. Now, I played X like crazy as a kid too, because X is amazing. But out of the original series, I think I am in the park of Mega Man 3 being my favorite of the first, the classic series.
And now it's time for Deep Thoughts with Ahmad.
Wow. Oh my god, I got pushed down by my own C shot. Don't clip that. Yeah, fair. Awesome. Like that's good series because basically every single Capcom Megaman game has awesome music, so you can't really go wrong with it when it comes to soundtracks, at least. But 3 is an awesome game. Yeah, the speedrun especially is it's a lot of lag management, like in Blaster Master, for example, because the game lags a lot. Lots of memorization where enemies are and how fast you kill them. So very Blaster Master like.
That's probably why I liked it, because that is one thing about Blaster Master that I actually found very interesting, was that probably the main part of that speedrun is lag management.
It is, yeah. It's heavy part of the entire run, just to remember when to shoot and what enemies to kill and when to kill.
Yep.
Just to get that little frame boost for your console so it runs a little bit faster. Cool. Mega Man games are indeed awesome, but they haven't really seen a lot of like homebrews, like I said. However, I guess we could argue the fan games are kind of like homebrews in Mega Man games, because that's what people love to do and that's what we like to play as well. So pretty close, not quite. I mean, not physical copies, obviously. Otherwise, Capcom would probably just sue us or something. But they're really, really friendly when it comes to fan games, unlike some other big company. Let's not go in there, but
I will say, though, I have seen physical copies of ROM hacks done before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. When I went to Seattle 2 years ago and into one of these retro stores, there was a physical copy of, it was a ROM hack of Zelda 2. I still have it here.
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying about that.
That was I never finished the game. It's just ridiculously difficult ROM hack. But
how dare you not finish it?
I know. But to be fair, that was not a good ROM hack. So, well, yeah, a ROM hack. But it's interesting how something like that becomes a physical copy and finds themselves in the stores of retro stores.
I do love me some Zelda 2 as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also grew up with Zelda 2. Awesome game. Controversial game a lot for many people because they're so stuck with the Zelda 1 kind of a style of gameplay. But
I like the Zelda 1 style of gameplay, but as far as, Zelda 1 versus Zelda 2, I am a Zelda 2 fan.
I have to lean towards that as well. I'm sorry, all the Zelda 1 fans. Probably because it was the first game I played instead of playing Zelda 1. And of course, Zelda 2 has awesome soundtrack, so
I also
once again helps.
Yeah, it does help. I also lean towards games that are a little harder too, and I don't know why. And my oldest son always gives me crap about it. He's like, "Why do you play such hard games?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Because you like the challenge.
Yeah,
you like to challenge yourself. It's a good habit to have, as long as you're not fighting against RNG.
Yeah,
that's the last enemy you don't want to face.
Gremlins too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's always there. That freaking bloody Gremlins too. Was there some kind of inspiration for you to start speedrunning? Because as far as I know, you haven't always been a speedrunner. You just recently, well, not recently, but you started streaming some years ago as well. And as far as I understand, speedrunning was it was not your first content you ever created. So have you been watching some events that sparked up this interest for speedrunning, or was this another nostalgic thing that you just wanted to experience with retro games?
This was an interesting story, and it actually goes back before I started streaming. I was working as a contractor that did inspections on steel transmission towers that go over mountains. It transports our energy across the United States. Yeah. And I was never home. And when my second son was born, being born, I asked my oldest son, I said, if I came home, what would you think about me becoming like a YouTuber or a streamer or something? He thought that was really cool. I'm like, well, what do you, he's like, well, what do you, or I said, what do you want me to do? He's like, I don't know. What was that game that you played before that had like all the guys dressed up in armor and you fought each other? I'm like, that's a lot of games that I've played, but I know where you're going with this. I streamed for like 2 or 3 months I streamed Diablo 3 for a little bit, but the one I was working on was it was a game called For Honor. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one.
I have, yeah.
I streamed that for a little bit, but that community is so abrasive that it pulled me away, like after 2 months of doing that. And what got me into the speedrunning scene was one of my oldest friends on Twitch, I should say, Rocket Sauna. He was doing Bucky O'Hare speedruns, and I went, I think I could do that. And so I got everything set up, and it was before I had physical hardware. And then I actually I talked to my oldest son about it again, and I said, what do you think about me doing speedrunning? He's like, what's that? So I showed him a video of Rocket Sauna doing his speedrun. He's like, ooh, that looks really cool. And that's what pulled me in, and that's basically all I've done outside of randomizers and a couple casual playthroughs here and there.
Yeah, I noticed you did some randomizers as well. So you started with emulators then?
I did, yep.
Okay, seems like the normal path for most people, just to test the feels a bit and get a good grip of the games, like I did myself as well when it comes to Megaman 2 originally. Then obviously, I assume the same thing happened to you. Had to get all the original hardwares right after, and then Everdrives happened probably afterwards as well.
Oh, it did not take long for me to look into physical hardware after I started speedrunning.
Do you have the US versions of? Did you get the Famicoms?
I have both. I have all US versions.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So I got the big old toaster. I guess they call it the toaster model.
Yeah. What I originally had, or my parents bought it, but now I have Famicoms on both SNES and NES.
I was thinking about picking up a second Super Nintendo just as a backup, because I've had the capacitors done in the Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. I never got the that RGB mod done, but in case, because Super Nintendo seems to be the console that I go to the most, having a backup would be awesome, and I would not mind picking up the Super Famicom version.
Not a whole lot of difference there either way, so yeah. You could easily pick that up. One of my friends actually had a US version of Super Nintendo, the junior version, the smaller version, and it was funny. We were arguing about the Japanese cards not fitting into the slot, but like the only mod you need to do is just to clip the little plastic clips away, and then you can fit the cards perfectly. So if you're not aware of this, anyone's listening right now, you can play Japanese cards on your SNES console, US SNES console, just by clipping a couple of plastic clips away from the dust cover, well, inside the slot, I guess. And that's all you need to do. It's a very simple mod, and anyone can do it. It doesn't really require a lot of work. And you can't really fail it either. So
no, you can't.
Can't twist pins or anything like that. It's very simple and easy. And that was quite the news flash for me when I figured that out eventually.
I'll be honest though, I lucked out on actually pretty much all of these consoles, other than my regular Nintendo. I already had one of those, and I started streaming with the regular Nintendo. And my best friend was actually watching the one stream. And I'm like, man, I would like to pick up a Super Nintendo. And he texted me after stream. He's like, hey, I have a present for you. I'm like, oh, like, okay, this is cool. I don't know what this is. He didn't say anything. He comes over with totes of old retro consoles and games. Like, I got the Super Nintendo, the Genesis. I have a Dreamcast, a GameCube, and a Saturn from him.
Oh my God, that's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
Did he ask anything?
No, he's just like, here. I'm like, bro, I could hug you right now.
Wow. That is a lot of stuff that I would have had such a big smile on my face, just like, wow, how much? I'm going to get it all.
I know. I offered. He's like, no, this is me to you and my wife that stops hounding me for having this stuff in the house. I'm like, oh, so now it's my problem.
Oh man, gotta love retro consoles, especially since you don't really have to do a lot of maintenance as well for none of these consoles. Obviously, dusting off, maybe sometimes clear the yellow plastic away if you can. There's a really easy method for that as well, but they don't really require that much maintenance as far as I know. Everything works for me. Maybe I assume for you as well. You haven't really done a whole lot of them for you, all your consoles, have you?
So the ones that I have on stream, the ones that I've gotten ready for on stream, I've gotten it so that, you know, it has Everdrive or Everdrive like setups. Like I have the hardware for my GameCube to set that up for basically it's called the Flippy drive. It's a no solder, no cut installation, and it works just like an Everdrive.
Yeah.
But as far as repairs and stuff, I've had capacitor replacements on my regular Nintendo and my Super Nintendo.
Okay. So small fixes.
Yeah. They ran. It was just more of a preventative maintenance. Like, okay, this is my main machine. I want to make sure it runs for ever.
Yeah, makes sense. When you go to search around trying to find someone to fix these things, do you have to search forever, or is it like a local thing that you can just bring your console to a local friend and they will fix it? Because I have one friend here who just loves to fix old retro stuff, so it's really easy for me to just go there and maybe just ask their opinion if something is working or if there's a problem on my console. But do you have anything like that nearby your place?
Not really nearby. I can do basic repairs myself, but as far as like full-blown mods and stuff, I met somebody at a Too Many Games convention, I think it was like 2 years ago, and he's my go-to guy that I send off. I always message him first, like, yo, can you do this? He's like, yep, all right, bet. Off it goes.
So RGB mods and everything related to that, I guess.
Yeah, I won't touch that.
Yeah, it's if you don't have the experience, there's just no need to start learning it either way, because one mis-solder or just messing with the electronics, it will just ruin the whole console, which is kind of ironic considering how, like I said, they don't really break no matter what you do. But hey, touching the insides, and that will just ruin the entire console easily.
So, I mean, there's only ever been one catastrophic issue here, and it was when my youngest was in the office. He bumped my Super Nintendo, and the Everdrive stopped working. Like the USB cord that plugs into the top that I use for auto splitting in like Super Metroid stopped working. So I sent both the console and the cartridge off, and I was like, hey, well, you have it, you might as well do the cap replacement on it too. And I'm like, just double check everything. And the only thing that he really had to fix was the USB port on it, and it's still a little finicky. And I've got it right now. If I don't move it, it works.
Little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar problem with one of my input displayers, which ironically, it is also mentioned to Skunky48, who made this controller for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Skunky, the custom Megaman controller, which I've been using for my speedruns. With all these input displayers, there's a funny little thing, like if you hook up the controller and the input displayer all the way in together, the male and the female, it doesn't work at all. But if you pull them slightly apart of each other while still connected, everything works correctly. And apparently Skunky already realized, and he was chatting with all the board designers he works with, and apparently they figured it out what's causing the problem. So hopefully that's already completely fixed in the future products he sells, but minor little convenience, which was easily figured out just by pulling them apart a little, which is really weird. Like, I don't really understand why would that happen, but yeah, it wasn't registering inputs at all until you pull them apart a little bit.
The only thing I wish we could find is, you know how legendary those controllers are that Skunky does?
Yep.
I wish we could find something for Super Nintendo controllers.
Oh yeah. And I would love to have like a mechanical bumpers as well.
Oh yeah.
That's just
so
me.
I know that there's mechanical switches for the L and R buttons, but when with Super Metroid being so precise, you sneeze at the controller wrong and you're doing something wrong in the game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was last year I went down to visit Skunky. We had some smoked meats. It was a great week, a great day. But him and I sat down and was messing around with a controller, and I've been playing with the same one since, and it's everything is great except my L button.
L button completely worn out and destroyed.
It's I mean, you've played with these bumpers before.
Yeah.
I have to position my finger farther back on the button to actually activate it.
To press it, yeah.
Versus how, like, when in SM, we do arm pumps, which is making her arm kind of move up and down, which is after each animation, it moves her forward a pixel. And in these long runs, we're pumping the arms up and down, which is basically kind of like mashing L and R back and forth. When my L button's kind of not working, you see her only doing it half the time, and it's kind of funny looking.
Oh, yeah. Lacking the whole animation there.
Yeah.
SNES controllers are so much more comfortable than NES. As much as I love 8-bit Nintendo, but man, the bricks are just a pain in the ass to play with.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Super Nintendo controller.
Yeah, same. It's just way more comfortable to use. Even though the NES did have the dog bone controller in Japan, I actually have a couple of them as well, but I rarely use them there. The weird positioning of the A and B buttons, like they're in this diagonal positions, just kind of like an SNES controller.
Right.
Similar style, but it's just not comfortable to use because there's only 2 buttons and they're just hard to reach. And yeah, not my favorite thing. And like I said, I played the Megaman 4 Voyage with double bricks, so you can imagine double the uncomfortable feeling in your hands when you try to use a double brick. It was just not the most pleasant experience. SNES controllers takes the cake, at least for me and you, I think.
Yeah, as far as retro controllers go, it's definitely my favorite. But like modern day controllers, I'm actually a Switch Pro controller kind of guy. If that D-pad didn't suck.
I was just about to say, there's a lot of awesome modern controllers, but they haven't gotten the D-pad right to this day.
Yeah.
Like, SNES controller probably has and always will have the best D-pad out of all controllers out there. Well, NES also have a good one, but I think the SNES one is slightly better from that. No one has been able to replicate that. To this day.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you have a SNES D-pad working as intended, it is probably one of the best.
Yep.
For the NES, I think if Skunky's touched it, it's really good.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And
yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't break. I'm still playing with Skunky's controller, but it has seen so much wear and tear at this point because of all the games I played that unfortunately, just a couple of years, I kind of destroyed the controller. It's just, but it's NES, like Skunky or not. If you use them a lot in speedrunning, you will wear them out. That's just the nature of speedrunning and retro speedrunning, especially. They will wear them out.
Yep. Any tool wears down if you use it.
Yep, especially in a mash-heavy games, which is probably the main reason why they're suffering in the first place. Yeah, retro consoles can definitely wear themselves out eventually, but they still work. Like I said, they rarely have any problems with them, and that's a good sign. Unlike some modern consoles, always updating and always some problems, and it's kind of baffling to think what happened in development of consoles. Everything used to work so perfectly, and now they don't.
And we may have, rose-tinted glasses, but even the stuff that that didn't work well, we overlooked because we were happy to have that new shiny thing.
Exactly. We're still kind of happy to have a new shiny thing every now and then. At least homebrews.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, side note, you can get full quiet on the Switch as well.
If I would have to choose, I would probably get the NES one. But once again, probably nostalgia reasons,
I own every single distribution of full quiet. I like it that much.
But that's an easy access to the game if it's on Switch as well. I have to remember that.
It's also on Steam, but there's an issue with it based off of like NVIDIA drivers. Like it'll run 6 or 7 times faster than it should, so you have to throttle it. But other than that, it runs good on PC too.
Still working at least.
Yes.
Everything could be and can be fixed on PC. All the mods and throttles we can do.
Yeah.
Going to another subject altogether here. We were talking about randomizer runs here. Tell me about those. I think I talked about this in the previous podcast, but I'm so curious about randomizers. Like, what draws you into playing them? Is it just the replay value of the, like Super Metroid, for example? There's so many different randomizers.
Oh man. There is a huge rabbit hole when it comes to Super Metroid randomizers. It gives that feeling of the very first time you played your favorite game of all time. I think is the only way I could explain it.
That makes sense. Yeah, like a lot of people have been playing Link to the Past, and they always give me the same answer what you just gave me.
The Link to the Past randomizers are awesome, and it's interesting because the randomizers also add a different level of difficulty that the base game can't really do anymore.
Yeah,
because like for me, in my opinion, Super Metroid, if you're doing like the any percent speed run, it's difficult. But if you do the 100%, playing the game itself is actually not hard because you have everything. The hard part is speeding it up. Whereas randomizers gives you have limited items and have to solve basically the next room's puzzle on how can I get through this room with the items that I have. And there is some wild tech when it comes to Super Metroid randomizers that I still can't do because it requires some pretty ridiculous inputs.
Yeah, I have watched Carter Freak lately. He seems to have quite the obsession of the map randomizer right now, and there has been some ridiculous tricks you need to pull off in order to progress in some of the situations in that game, and I'm just blown away that how did someone even figure it out? It comes to kind of glitch hunting in a way, but it's only like it's just basic mechanics which you can abuse in the game, and that alone obviously makes the Super Metroid one freaking awesome game.
It's really neat though. Like, when you load up a randomizer, you literally have no idea. Well, like Map Rando, for example, the way there's a community that's doing races and stuff, and they're going season by season. So when I generate a map rando, I'm using that season's rule set. I never have time to get into one of those races, but I'll use that rule set, and with that rule set, you're literally starting in a room that's not your ship. So each time you boot up the new rando, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
So it's like reliving nostalgia, but still adding something new to the experience. And man, it's something I really want to get to myself as well at some point, because it's just so cool idea. Like Link to the Past, for example, with all the chests containing different items, completely randomized.
Oh yeah,
and
that's good time.
And then you just have to figure out where to go next. Obviously, that comes with game knowledgement as well. You have to know what this item does and what can you do with it. So go ahead. It's just a awesome, cool aspect of and it shows how much obviously you love the game and you know about the game. Since otherwise, if I would go play A Link to the Past, even though I did couple of runs of the game, but if I would get some random item right now from the first chest, I would probably not know what to do with it before I would just Google it. So yeah, that's another aspect of the game.
And there's randos for so many different games. Like when I started messing around with like the Super Metroid and Link to the Past randos, I'm like, I wonder what other games I can get into. Resident Evil 2 has a randomizer, which is pretty wild. Then there was Secret of Mana, probably one of my favorite RPGs on the Super Nintendo. I'm sorry, Chrono Trigger, and everybody's going to hate me because I have never finished a game of Chrono Trigger. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Me neither, actually.
Oh, no.
Some years ago, I played Chrono Trigger for the first time. I think it was the same time when I was testing out Super Metroid. My Everdrives just lost the save towards the end of the game. So
Well, you have an
Couldn't finish Chrono
excuse.
Trigger. Kinda, yeah.
I don't. I didn't own it as a kid. That's my only excuse. But ever since then, I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and actually enjoy it because I'm too busy with other runs. But Secret of Mana has a randomizer that's, oh man, that one hits home with nostalgia for me.
Well, I guess that goes hand in hand with the people with Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Like they love their and still love their SNES RPGs, which the console, to be fair, had quite a punch actually.
I do love me my RPGs.
Yep. I need to get to Secret of Mana at some point because there was a remake of the game at some which I do have on my Switch. I just played like a couple of hours and then I stopped.
I am of the opinion the one that has like the updated graphics.
Yeah.
I do not like that at all.
Yeah, I think I played the original Secret of Mana on stream for a little bit, but which I liked, but man, my focus was not there, so I just need to start it all over again at some point. Probably do the same with Chrono Trigger, even though I still think it's slight exaggeration when people say it's the best game ever made, but nostalgia once again. Like, if you played it back then, I can absolutely understand your point of view. Like, absolutely. I'm not going to argue about that. Like, it's a great game as much as I played it, but there's so many RPGs these days you can compare it to, and it's definitely not up there, at least not for me. Sorry, guys.
I can see the merit. I can see why it's really good. If you take it in the context of when it was released, it's the same way with me with Final Fantasy VI. I think that's a fantastic game, but it's not my favorite Final Fantasy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just have to look at this in the perspective when you were playing the game, like you said. Like, what was the competition and what were you comparing the game to?
Right.
Which didn't really have a lot of game to compare in the first place. So, yeah, they were good games and still are. Don't get me wrong. Let's get straight to the main question. What is your all-time favorite speedrun?
Oh.
Like, I know you haven't been around that long, to be honest, but like, what is the one game that you, well, Super Metroid is probably going to be the answer, but I'm going to ask the question either way. Like, what is the one speedrun that brings you back? You want to play again and again, and you would still say that it is absolutely my best and favorite speedrun of all time.
Oh man, that the problem is like by default I would say Super Metroid, but if I'm looking at my speedrun list and there's several games on there where like I could literally sit down and speedrun it for a while again, you know, that there's a lot that just pull me back. If I would say if I push Super Metroid off and say that's not an option, I would honestly say I think Full Quiet's got the most pull.
So a homebrew would take the cake.
It's weird and wild, I know.
Yeah, that's a hot take, but man, I appreciate it. It's if you actually put the game on such high standards, then yeah, I will have to get the game because I remember you praising the game when you got it on the first time and you played it quite a bit. So even to this day, you feeling or you having all these strong emotions about the game, then yeah, I'm starting to believe you slowly, but I'm a believer.
I would put it in yeah. I think it's probably tied with the Batman NES speedrun for, I would say, my favorite NES speedrun, and for two totally different reasons. Full Quiet is a very long run. My time's an hour and 14 minutes, and that's an hour and 14 minutes of constant focus. One thing could go wrong and you have to restart.
And that's a really long speedrun for NES, by the way. We don't really have a lot of speedruns that goes like over an hour, let alone 10 minutes or something on NES. So that's a ridiculously long run.
I think it's a high stake run, and that's why I like it. Because not only is it extremely difficult, but in the first like 15 minutes of the run, if you're not to a certain section of the game within a certain time frame, you're losing minutes because there's a certain thing that happens. I'm not going to spoil anything because it you know, it's if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can always watch a playthrough of it. But there's a certain event that happens anywhere in the game at nighttime that if you're not at that certain point, you're losing minutes.
Oh no, is it another Castlevania 2 curse?
It can be, and by curse you mean death.
Okay, slightly different.
So it's slightly different.
Good. Yeah, that was one of the main things in Castlevania 2, which people clearly hate. Just, oh no, it's another, whatever the dialogue was, but yeah, go to nighttime, and then just interrupts the gameplay completely.
And then towards the end of the run is another one of those, you've got to be at a certain point, because there's an in-game time that's going the whole time that's actually a full day-night cycle.
Yeah. And
I forget what the actual time is. Like I said, it's my last time I ran it was, I think, like 9 months ago. But there's each of these camps where these radios are that you're trying to get to full quiet also have beds. And there's a lot of time, and when you sleep, you refill your health. You can refill your ammo if you have that unlocked at that specific campsite.
Yeah.
But it resets the day-night cycle to, I think it's like 6. I think it's 6 o'clock in the morning. But there's one spot in the whole run that we actually sleep to put it at a specific time. That when we get to that area, the second area that I'm talking about, you have, I think it's like a 20-second window to get there in time.
Oh man.
And it's really tight.
Sounds like a very stressful speedrun on some of these sections.
The whole time.
Oh, no wonder you said it needs your full focus then.
Like when you're transitioning through certain areas, there's time, because one of my biggest things that I have a hard time with is, if my chat is chit-chatting and stuff, I like to be involved. I like to talk to them. I like, address them. But when it's full quiet, there's certain long stretches where I cannot look at chat or I'm dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I mentioned about this in one of the previous podcasts, but all the people watching you will absolutely understand that there will be points especially in speedrun. Obviously, casual gaming is a different story, but speedrunning is like you have to focus on some points.
Yeah.
Or if the speedrun is that intense, then you have to focus most of the time to the speedrun without responding to anyone. So if they don't understand that, then that's their problem, to be honest. And there's nothing you can do about it.
And there's so many sections of that game that are so technical. I would honestly give it it's almost as technical as Super Metroid level, but for the NES. If that makes sense. It's
in what regard, like mechanic wise, or what?
Yeah, mechanically, because throughout the game you're doing a roll that accelerates the main character, but you want to jump out of the roll, because if you do a full roll, it slows you down. So you're rolling and then jumping out of it, rolling and jumping out of it, as your general movement. There's certain points where you don't want to do that because you'll roll and fall off a cliff and die, or you'll bypass a door that you're trying to walk through. There's a section in the run, I think it's like 12 minutes in, that you have 2 chances to do, or the run's over. It's a gate skip that you're forcing the main character through an impassable barrier by like a pixel.
Yeah.
Shout out to Skunky for figuring out that the shotgun in that game should be called the speed gun, because we use that as part of the mechanics of movement as well.
Pushes you back, I guess.
Yeah, if you jump and use that gun in the air, it shoots you across the screen, and it's one of the coolest things ever. But
you don't really see a lot of like physics in NES games, so that's pretty cool to see.
Oh, it's hilarious. But like, so because of where you pick the gun up and then where you meet the gate, you have 2 chances, because you have 4 shots. You need 2 shots to get through it. You need the first shot to accelerate him to the gate, and then you need to shoot the second shotgun shot. It's like, I think it's like 2 frames before you hit that gate to clip you through the gate.
Yeah.
And if you miss both attempts, you're done. You don't have any ammo. You can't get through it.
Oh, well, at least these are only speedrun tricks, right?
Yes.
Don't really have to worry about these casually.
No. Casually, if you know where you're going, will take you about 35, 40 minutes to get to there to unlock the gate.
Oh, so it's that big of a difference.
It is a massive difference.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds cool. I need to write a note about that and just get it somewhere if I can, and maybe get a full playthrough of it on my channel.
And then
I love homebrews are awesome.
Oh, it's so good, and I would love to see more exposure to it. That they did an excellent job. There's the atmosphere in it is so strong. It gives you that dread, like we talked about with Shadowgate. The music and the atmosphere gives you that sense of dread, like, oh crap, I need to get to this certain point by a certain time.
Okay, well now you're really selling it to me at this point. I loved and still love this feeling of dread in especially retro games. It's hard to get on modern games, to be honest, but it's obviously horror is displayed, or the sense of discomfort is displayed differently on modern games. But yeah, back in the day, like these homebrews and some really old retro games, you just had to use imagination so much. You had to the graphical representation wasn't really enough to show all the details, but imagination is a wild thing, and when you get that running, then the feeling of dread will follow soon after. So that's pretty cool.
It is wild what the imagination can do.
Indeed, and that's a powerful little weapon we have when it comes to retro games. Yeah, that's awesome. I need to think about getting that game myself. Now, if that was your all-time favorite speedrun, which was indeed a bit of a surprise to me as well. What makes a good speedrun for you then? Because for me, it is absolutely 100% the movement, and like you mentioned before a little bit, the music as well. But for me, movement over everything.
So,
what is yours?
Yeah, so a disqualifier is definitely music, but it's not the most important thing. But even if a game has good movement, if it's got a bad soundtrack or no soundtrack at all, I won't run it.
So absolutely, like a soundtrack is the one thing that keeps you playing the game?
I don't know how many times I hum or whistle along while I'm doing the speedrun. It just happens, you know. But I would honestly say both movement and the soundtrack are probably equal.
That's a fair answer. I mean, I'm probably going to hear that from a lot of other people as well. And obviously, retro games have so many good games and soundtracks, so it shouldn't be a problem to at least find a game that you enjoy playing.
I mean, if you look at my speedrun.com thing, you'll see that there's Defender of the Crown. Just ignore that, because that music is awful. That's so RNG heavy. By the way, there's literally almost no music in Defender of the Crown. And then that's all menu based. But but other than that, it's definitely, if I had to go with one or the other, it probably would be movement with music very, very close behind.
Okay, that's a really interesting point out in speedrun. It's just the music alone, because, like I said, the movement is so important for me that if I tricks and glitches probably comes right after. But that once again goes into the movement. Like, hopefully they work hand in hand. Like, I do some kind of movement to perform a glitch that would make a good speed run for myself. Like you said, music is indeed, like, I guess the replay value of a game just goes so high because of a good music that I can absolutely see the point of that being such an important part of picking a good speed run. That's fair.
I mean, like for me, if I go through all of the different live split settings groups I have of Super Metroid by itself, I have a couple thousand runs in that, and if I did not like that music, even though the movement is so good, if it came down to it, if there was a way to just turn off the music if it was that bad, I probably would give it a go. You know,
Super Metroid has a really haunting soundtrack. Just like
Yeah.
Shadowgate. Is that part of the reason? I think we're seeing a little pattern here
I
for
don't know.
me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm starting to see a pattern.
I do really enjoy atmospheric style music, as well as anthem style. Like
Yeah.
I am a diehard heavy metal guy. I've always been really big into heavy metal, but if we go outside the metal, I like atmospheric stuff. And Full Quiet's got a very haunting feel to it. Beyond Shadowgate, oh my, you just need to listen to that soundtrack before you even play it. Like, you'll realize how good it is.
Yeah, you're selling the game to me completely at this point. I need to.
They need to like hire me as a salesman. I'm just saying.
Is that a spoiler for the game if I actually listen to the soundtrack first?
No, I wouldn't think so
At all. Okay. Good to know.
I will do you a favor. I will take the time and listen to the soundtrack again and just double check. And if there's a track that you need to skip, I'll let you know.
Okay, fair assessment. All right. So I think it's time for our little end game. I always do this for all of our guests here.
Oh no.
All right, let's stick with the homebrew theme here. And let's pretend that you are the lead developer and designer of a brand new NES Homebrew game. What kind of a game would that be? Would you focus on the speedrun aspects of the game or the casual entertainment of the game? What would you do with the game in general? What kind of a genre would it represent? And then obviously if music is such a big part of the whole thing, I'm pretty sure you would probably hire someone to make the music for you. But just curious, like what kind of a game would you think would be your homebrew game if you would actually develop one?
This is really funny that you say that or ask that question, because I've putzed around with game development apps before. Yeah, I messed around with like RPG Maker. I have the dev kit for NES stuff as well.
Nice.
And so I've dabbled, but if it was like a fresh start, you'd be surprised, but I always wanted to make a good, this is going to be wild because I never even said about it other than I played a couple of them this past year. I would love to make a Mega Man like game, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm all for it. Explain.
And this is not me playing to you. You can ask a couple of my friends from Twitch and like, yeah, he's talked about it before.
Have to confirm now.
But yeah, I've always thought that Mega Man was a very great formula for a game, and I think it's a very underused formula, to be honest.
Hell, kind of reminds me. I think I heard you hyping up the Prison City as well, which has a stage select, just like in Mega Man as well. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Prison City has that stage select. It has. Oh, that's another one you need to try. Just saying.
I have to. Yeah, I saw Laxus and a couple of other friends just running the game, and it's pretty cool. Just like a power blade combined with Shatterhand. That's what I gather from the game.
That screams a mod. I think that when I was running that, I'm like, I'm surprised a mod hasn't tried this yet.
Yeah, it's one of the retro type modern games I need to get myself into. It looks fun and, well, as far as I can tell, awesome soundtrack as well.
Oh, it's one. That's on a playlist that I listen to at work a lot. Is the Prison City soundtrack. But
all right,
as far as game development goes, I would love to do like a Mega Man-esque game and just focus on that whole, just the casual play. And because a lot of devs don't focus on speedrunning stuff, and they either add speedrunning focused things later, or they're like, oh, people are breaking our game for fun. This is cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, these days, even some developers actually hire speedrunners to break their game just to find glitches and something that doesn't belong there. But that doesn't really help when people break them either way when the game's launched. So
I've poked a few devs just in case, like, hey, I speedrun things. Let me break your game for you.
Yeah. Well, they should keep that in mind for real. Speedrunners are great when it comes to just, well, obviously not all of them. Let's not generalize speedrunners. not all of us enjoy glitch hunting, but like if you put some like a small community together of speedrunners, someone will break your game 100%.
Yep.
So that kind of a game, and I assume it would have like a stage select and all these Megaman-ish kind of aspects in the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I respect this decision 100%.
And I know it's weird. A guy known for Metroidvanias would like to make a Mega Man game, because I love Mega Man. I just don't play it enough. Except X. I've always enjoyed Mega Man X.
Yeah, X is also awesome series. Well, Mega Man in general. Let's just use the word Mega Man. It doesn't really matter what the series are. They're all good games. Of course, we have, like, there's so many different Mega Man games at this point. So the only thing we probably don't want to talk about are the DOS games. Pretty infamous popularity among classic Mega Man speedrunners. But yeah, that's interesting to hear from you that you would pick a game like that, because I always thought you were the Metroidvania guy, like you said.
I have a lot more fun when it comes to Metroidvanias, but it's either been a Mega Man game I would always like to make, or an RPG, because I always have stories to tell, you know.
Yeah, RPGs just need a really compelling story, and that's usually the hardest part of making an RPG in general, making a really, really compelling and story that just captivates and brings you in for the ride. Obviously a easier task just to develop some kind of a Mega Man pew pew, just shoot things and finish a stage and kill a boss. A simple kind of a game, but
who needs story?
Yeah. Shout outs to Sea of Stars, by the way. Awesome recent RPG.
That is really good too.
And probably one of the most beautiful 16-bit graphics combined with modern lighting, as far as I can tell. It's just freaking gorgeous. That's the kind of graphical style I would love to see more in video games.
Man, yeah, that and the 2.5D stuff that Square Enix is doing.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No. Other than I thank you for letting me come on. This was a good time.
Yeah, I'll think I'm going to give you a moment to just give yourself a shout out. So where can people find you, and what do you currently do? I mean, obviously you speedrun, but like you do randomizers and whatnot. But yeah, give yourself a shout out. Let people know who you are.
Well, I am MeurigVII, because I am a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII. I'm sure people could tell that. But you can find me streaming on Twitch. I'm working on trying to get over to YouTube, because OBS just crashed and I had to reinstall it. But I'm looking to stream on YouTube and TikTok as well, believe it or not. And
nice.
Yeah, it actually worked pretty good the one time.
Yeah.
But I'm heavily focusing on Super Metroid, but I do have some other speedruns in mind later on. I was looking at Resident Evil 2 eventually, but there's a couple other things that, you know, piquing my interest from SNES and beyond, and hoping to get to N64 sometime this year.
All right. So kind of keeping it retro all the time, right?
Yeah. Or retro style indies, you know.
Yeah. As long as the retro is still there in some spirit.
Yeah. This almost 40-year-old man loves his pixels, okay?
Yeah, can relate. Pixels for life.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having this time with me. I'm sure people will find this conversation extremely interesting, because we just went through quite an amount of topics about retro stuff.
Everything.
Consoles to games and pixels to modern games. Wow. All right. Well, yeah, I'll let you go for now, and hopefully we will continue next week with another awesome guest. Man, we have been having a lot of brilliant people here already. But thank you, Meurig. Thank you so much for giving me the time for the interview, and hopefully everyone will have a good day, and I will see you guys on the next Stagged Odds. Take care. Bye.